Hi, my name is Hope Davis, and I will be talking about our inner critic. There's one bully that I have had to deal with for most of my life. They're constantly telling me what I'm supposed to be doing. They love to gather up all the little mistakes I've made over the years and make me feel like a failure. They never let me forget anything. This should sound familiar because you all know this bully. It is the inner critic inside each of us. Have you ever heard the saying, "You are your worst critic"? I think we can all relate to that at some point in our lives. We try so hard to make them proud, but nothing ever works. And we can't stand the feeling of not being enough. We hate the shame and guilt that comes with failure. We can't stand to see ourselves for the broken sinners we actually are. So what do? We try to escape. We cling to the few things that we know how to do well. We strive to stay in our comfort zone at all times. And we pick on the people who are brave enough to go out and try something new or simply be themselves. When that doesn't work, we desperately look for people who struggle more than we do. We do this not to help them, not to tell them that they aren't alone, but to comfort ourselves. We say things like, "See, you're a good person, you just gave them a compliment. Look, you're a good student, you got a better grade than they did. There, you see, you can't be that bad of a driver, just look at how they parked." We constantly build ourselves up and shove everyone else down in the process. And all for what? To silence the critic. But there's one problem. That critic is never satisfied. There is always something we should be doing, and there's always more expectations to be meeting. The more we try, the more we fail, and the angrier the critic gets. Until we feel like we can't do anything right. We all fall short, and all our accomplishments start to look ridiculous. There's a psalm by Selah that says that by chasing all these empty expectations, we are climbing broken ladders, which is the title of the song. We continue to listen as our critic yells at us each day, pointing out all of our faults. They take over our mind until we start to think that we can't do anything right, and that's how other people see us. But it's all us. It's all our own imaginations. We give the critic so much power. Why? Why do we do this? Why do we continue to suffer for absolutely no reason? Climbing broken ladders gets us nowhere. So why do we give it so much power over our lives? We are making things way more complicated than they need to be. While we are going around like crazy, climbing broken ladders and chasing empty expectations that are impossible, at the bottom of the ladder, there is a God who is the creator of the earth, mover of mountains, a God who has the power to bring the dead back to life. He is full of infinite love and power. He is standing there, waiting for us to call for help, waiting for us to run into his arms. He's waiting for us to hand over all those futile expectations so he can destroy those broken ladders and replace them with his love, which is the only thing that we should be chasing. He loves us for who we are, not who we were in the past and not for what we will become, but he loves us for where we are right now. Even before we were able to physically do anything for him or love him back in return, he still loved us. We have done nothing to deserve this love, and what we constantly keep forgetting is that there's nothing we can do to deserve it. All we can do is accept it. Accept God for who he is, and accept that what he says about us is true. When times are tough and we feel like there's nothing we can do about it, God is near. He hears us. He fully knows us. The chorus of Broken Ladder says, "All you ever wanted was my heart, my simple heart." We don't need to worry about earning our place because it has already been there from the very beginning, set apart by God. He is longing for us to know the truth of who he truly is. He wants to show us all the reasons that we still have to rejoice. He wants us to accept that each trial is an opportunity to get to know him better and get closer to him, an opportunity to refine us into who we were meant to be, an opportunity to be less like the world and more like him. He wants us to experience the perfect peace and joy, knowing that we have the perfect best friend who is always there for us and will never leave us. I have gone through this cycle countless times in my life. I listen to the critic, the expectations build into an impossible height, until eventually I break down. But it is when I break down that I'm forced to admit that I can't do it by myself. And all I have left to do is turn to God. And when I turn to God, I am reminded of who He is and who He says I am, and I feel like myself again. But then the critic starts talking, and it starts all over. So how do we stop giving our inner critic so much control? How do we stop this endless cycle? I have found that I only listen to the critic when I think that I am in control of my life. Whenever I accomplish something, I tend to give myself a little too much credit, as if it is through my power. This happens a lot when I lead worship at my church. When I rely on my own power, the critic's judgments just get worse. When I think about how if the service goes well and the people are moved by the music, I tend to take the credit as if it is through my talent. But when I give myself power, I'm also giving the critic control. And they use this as fuel to build those expectations even higher, which turns into an even louder voice in our heads. To silence this critic, we need to give God control from the very beginning. We need to recognize that it is through His power that we accomplish things and the gifts that He gives to us. We need to remember that we are loved and treasured by Him. We have direct access to His infinite power. All we have to do is ask for help. When the voice starts shouting, we need to cling to the truth. We only give the critic power if we think we have it in the first place. If we don't rely on ourselves, there is no power to fuel the critic, and they no longer control us. And this is the key to escaping all of their lies. Because as the song says, all broken ladders do is take my eyes off of you and make me forget the truth. We need to cling to God's truth because that's what points us to His love, which is the only thing worth chasing.